the beauty is you don't really need a good offense right now in the Big Ten West. You just need a good defense.
It is once again time for Husker Chat. I'm Jayson Jorgensen. It's brought to you by Acres Equipment as we talk Husker football with the publisher of HuskerOnline, Sean Callahan. Another Husker victory to talk about. Workmanlike, gritty win against Northwestern. Sean, how you been? It certainly looks like the Huskers' fortunes have changed the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they're winning, and they're on a little run here, but obviously they continue to deal with adversity, and that becomes the story again with 3 of their 5 starters on the O-line out with injury, 2 out for the season. Nuri Noelle eventually will be back later, but then Billy Kemp, their top receiver by far, out for a few weeks with his MCL sprain. So this is an extremely limited team. 3 of their top 5 O-linemen now out. 4 of the top 5 receivers they opened fall camp with out for the year. In Kemp's case, a few more weeks. Then 2 of their top 3 overall running backs on the roster to start camp are out. Emmett Johnson's been able to emerge, but it's a really tough hand of cards they've been dealt. But they're not, the beauty is you don't really need a good offense right now in the Big Ten West. You just need a good defense.
And they certainly have that. Let's get back to the offensive line. They started this year with not a whole lot of depth. What depth they have now is certainly going to be tested. I wanted to ask you this week, who are the key guys now they plug in to try to make this work?
I'm always trying to look at it from an optimistic perspective, and I think that they can put 3 guys. They're going to put 3 guys in there that have either started or played before. Teddy Prohaska, left tackle. Henry Latoski will be a guard, and then Justin Evans Jenkins, the other guard who's been playing all year. So they can plug in 3 players that have either started Big Ten games, or in Evans Jenkins' case, he's played a lot this year. So it's not like they're just putting some scout team out there. They've got Serviceable, but that is it. That is the cupboard. I mean, they've cleared out everything in the cupboard out on the field now. So if there were to be another injury, then it would get dicey. That would be a real tough situation, but they can manage with this group. But especially because they're not playing an Ohio State or Michigan type team on the rest of the schedule. But I think it's going to be a tough finish, no doubt.
And their struggles on offense, you can point to a lot of issues. You can speak to the injuries. Also, they're still playing a young quarterback. Heinrich Haarberg certainly has been up and down, but boy, it was great to see him connect with Malachi Coleman on an old vintage Husker play.
Yeah, that option pass play, you have that in there to run, and usually the Malachi Coleman route is not there for the taking. I mean, that's typically just a guy that kind of like helps free up the middle of the field for the guy underneath. But in that case, Malachi ran by his defender. Haarberg made a perfect throw, and you just knew if they could get it to 17-6, it was pretty much over, and they were able to. And Northwestern got it back to 17-9. But getting that game to 17-6 really kind of ended any hope of the Wildcats had, because they were not scoring on Nebraska, at least a traditional touchdown type drive.
Today on Husker Chat, we're checking with Sean Callahan, the publisher of HuskerOnline. Sean, I think most people felt and hoped going into this year that this defense would be better. Are you surprised that they are as good as they are?
Well, they've got a lot of veteran leadership, a lot of guys that have played for Nebraska. So the material, I follow recruiting, and the guys they bring in, they've always brought in good players. It just, I think between coaching changes and COVID years and things, just different things hurt development. And now I think finally they're like, all right, we're all on the same page. Tony White has a really good scheme and a really good plan. They play a lot of guys too. And I think there's a lot of benefit to that. Number one, you have depth, but number two, I think you engage the entire locker room. When you can take James Williams, who joined the team in June, and have him make a game-ending sack for your defense, that's going to get other guys engaged. Like, gosh, he went hard in scout team, and they brought him up to the defense, and he made a sack. So I think the culture rules building has really been able to engage a lot of players to step up.
All right, this week, 2-5 Purdue comes to town. They have a week off after they were belted a couple weeks back by Ohio State. Thought it was interesting out of the gate. Their coach, Walters, no fan of Lincoln, no fan of the Huskers, and he really let everybody know that.
Yeah, I don't know what the point of doing that is, but just having some fun, I guess. But He's a great defensive coach. I mean, what he did at Illinois a year ago, he was arguably one of the best assistant coach jobs in the nation with what he did for Brett Bielema. They had 3 guys drafted in their secondary, and he had a first rounder on the D-line that's still at Illinois this year. So he built a great scheme under Brett Bielema there, and now he's trying to do that in West Lafayette. They have a quarterback, Hudson Card, who transferred in. Dylan Mockabee returns at running back. They have good receivers. They're 2-5, but they've been really they easily could be 4-3. I mean, they've had a lot of close, tough games. They played a tough non-conference schedule. So their 2-5 record's a little deceiving because this is an even match game. I think it's going to come down to once again the little things and the details, and can Nebraska make the plays when they matter?
Recipe for the Huskers have been low, kind of boring, ugly games. They've been able to ugly it up. Do you see that kind of theme of a game on Saturday again?
Unless the defense or the special teams can create a few plays. But yeah, this offense, I think we know what it is. I mean, they only had 1 long sustained drive a week ago, and that was before halftime. Their average drive length, even with that drive, the 10-plus play drive they had, was 4 plays a drive. So they're just not getting a lot of conversions. Northwestern dropped back 7 to 8 in coverage every time. They only blitzed twice the entire game on Heinrich Haarberg. So some teams decide to go after him, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the approach Purdue does, especially with the O-line things. Others choose to drop into coverage and make Haarberg fit those passes into tight windows where guys aren't really open, and he's got to make a decision how to get it in there where, Thomas Fidone is going to have somebody on his back and he's got to make a throw to him. And, it's tough because they've got to run the ball at a higher level, I think, for some of these receivers to start getting more wide open.
All right, we'll see how it shakes out. It is great, though, see mid-season Nebraska football starting to put some things together and some good mojo going forward.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the momentum, they have a chance to win 3 games in a row for the first time since 2016. And a win would get them 1 step closer, 1 win away from a bowl. So I think there's a lot of things to play for here. I know they're still in the West too. I mean, if they win this week, all of a sudden you can say, hey, they're kind of in the middle of the West race. Michigan State in a very winnable game on the road at 11 a.m. You got to expect the atmosphere there with a fired coach and a struggling team is not going to be great in East Lansing. It's the first time we've ever played an 11 a.m. game out there. So there's a lot of optimism, I think, within this program. They know they're limited, but I think these guys are playing for their head coach.
All right. Sean, as always, we appreciate your time and your insights.
Thank you very much, Jayson.
That was Sean Callahan, the publisher of HuskerOnline, joining us. Once again, this is Husker Chat. We come to you every week, and it's brought to you by Acres Equipment. I'm Jayson Jorgensen.